Well, hello. Welcome to week 6 of Introduction to Christian Ethics. Here we go. This may be my favorite of all of our weeks. It's certainly right up there. This week we're talking about self-care and boundaries. Now, when I was first asked to teach this course by what was then Missouri School of Religion, is now Mid-America Center for Ministry, I was told, we don't want you to teach this like a boundaries class. We're all responsible, are expected to, are told we need to take boundaries classes, not just one, but have these ongoing. In some denominations, they're every 5 years, some every 3. Most I'm seeing is every 2 to 3 years that you have to repeat a boundaries class, and that has to do with how we relate to others, for those boundary pieces, how we relate within ourselves. The basis of a boundaries course is to make sure that we are aware of what is appropriate actions, behavior. You may say, well, everybody knows what's appropriate, but not everybody does. I remember sitting in one of those boundary training sessions quite a few years ago, something that was very obvious to me about interpersonal relationships. We were in discussion time, and one of the ministers, who was much older than I am, in ministry, my guess is 20 years longer than me, said, "That's not appropriate. That's a problem." And really, it wasn't one of those, to me, it wasn't one of those generational type of questions. It was, this is what's right, this is what's wrong. And that, he said, he'd never been taught. So that's a huge part of that. And as I said, I think at the beginning of this course, this is not so much to be able to discuss what's right, what's wrong, that we have avoided. We are avoiding overall specific topics that a lot of people teach in ethics classes, that are expected to be taught in morality classes and those discussions. And we do that so that we don't get caught up on this particular or that particular in what can be divisive issues. It's not to say that we will not encounter and we will not have to address those issues, but it is to say that we have to be open to the variety of standpoints that are out there, or perspectives that are out there, and be able to speak within those dynamics. Now, here we are. To be able to do that, we've been talking about this, we have to be able to respect the other person. And as you'll remember, scripturally, we come down and we make decisions on loving God, right? Loving others and loving ourselves. This week, we're really coming in on the loving ourselves part of this. And it really does come down to self-care, because if we are not healthy, or as healthy as we can be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, our ability to act ethically, to help others act ethically, is beyond seriously compromised. Now, let me see this first. Quite a few years ago, I was facilitating a small group, and had 2 medical doctors in there. And I was talking about health. In fact, we were talking about praying for health and healthy prayer, how you pray for someone to get better. And I was talking in terms of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And both of these doctors came up and said, talk to us about emotional health, because we talk about physical, mental, spiritual, right? We talk body, mind, and spirit. But there is this part, body, mind, spirit, but there is this emotional piece. And when we talk about emotions, be real clear about this. Emotions are something, there are feelings, duh, we know that. But our body, they're tied into our body, they're tied into our mind. So we feel sad, we feel glad, we feel frustrated, we feel I don't know, put upon, something like that. So we can have these feelings, and feelings are not to be denied. A lot of us have been taught to suppress those feelings, in which case the only way they can come out is in anger, right? We have these anger outbursts. Anger is generally a covering emotion. It's not what's underneath there. If you're feeling anger, then one of the questions is to ask what's underneath there. We are to respond to our emotions. That's the one thing we can control. We can't control how we feel. right? But we can respond or control how we respond. We can respond rather than react, which is what anger is, right? Anger is not responding to what we're feeling. It's allowing our bodies to feel, to act out, really. I mean, isn't that right with anger? It's an acting out. It's our bodies responding or really reacting to whatever's been given to us. So I want to get clear about those feelings and what's with that, and being careful with that. That's the emotional part, right? And so it's to be healthy in body, mind, mental, and emotional, and then spiritual. It allows us, again, to be responsive, to respond to situations, to respond to people, to respond to ourselves even, not to react. So again, this week we're going to talk about this self-care. Now there are a number of readings for us today, or this week. I'm really excited about them. There's this ethical, not the ethical action test. We did that last week. The self-care inventory is a big one. The burnout inventory. I know a lot of us talk about being burned out. This is a good tool. I may have mentioned I took this one not too long ago, and I found I wasn't nearly as burned out as I thought I was. And so, people, it's easy to say, oh, I'm so burned out. Well, are you burned out, or is it something else? Are you getting caught up in the idea of being burned out, or is there something else going on that you could be addressing? So a lot of times burnout means I'm just really tired because there's a lot of stuff going on, or I'm really involved in a lot of stuff, which can lead to burnout. Doesn't mean that we are burned out. And by being able to address that stuff, it can prevent us from becoming burned out. Self-care also means that we have to have support systems. We've talked about accountability, that A word, having someone not who says, you have to do this, or who would say, okay, why didn't you do that? Accountability, having an accountability partner who will say to you, tell me how it's going, who you give permission to hear you. You give permission to ask you the tough questions. That's those accountability people and partners. I suggest you only have one accountability partner. We've watched over and over again how people have multiple mentors, multiple accountability partners, and they play them off one another. One accountability partner, somebody who you will get to know, who can get to know you, somebody you allow to speak truth into your life. I have accountability partners. One in particular is coming to mind, whom I allow to speak truth into my life in ways that I don't even allow my husband to speak truth, right? Because if he tells me truth, that's just my husband, right? So this person can call me on stuff when I'm really acting out or not taking my days off. My husband, I actually have three people along these lines that my husband has been known to call and say, you know, she is not taking her days off. And so then the people, and he'll say, I'm going to call so-and-so. And that may sound like tattling, but it's because he loves me, and it's because I've given these people permission to say, Kris, when was your last day off? Kris, how many weeks of vacation have you taken so far this week? A good coach will ask you those questions. I know when I'm serving as a coach for people, that is a common question that I'm going to ask. When I ask one of the pastors I get to serve, you know, how are you doing? And they say, okay. You know, the first questions are you really okay? You get to know them. They've allowed me to get to know them to that point where I can say that question. Are you really okay? That allows usually for further conversation. Or when it doesn't, the ones I know really well, if they're not open to the further conversation, I know I need to follow up with them in the not too distant future to get a sense of why they might not want to be so open with what's going on with them. We need those people. There's a piece, one of your readings is from Len Sweet. It's from a book that he wrote called 11, I believe is the name of the book. It's in there, yes, 11 indispensable relationships you need to have. And he talks about these different people we need to have in our lives, like a Nathan who did a little bit editing for King David, Jonathan, who was friends with King David, right? Who was David's true friend. A Jethro who could go in there to Moses and just basically kick butt, right? I mean, talk about somebody to hold you accountable. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, who went in there and said, why are those people standing there? And why are you working yourself morning till night? You're going to get burned out, right? We need those Jethro. So in there, there's a chance, right, looking at these 11 to say, you know, who are my Nathan, you know, who are my Nathans, or who is my Nathan, who's my Jonathan, who's my on and on and on. Rhoda may catch you by surprise, so be sure to look at Rhoda. Len calls her, you know, who's your little one? Who's the one who would come to the door when people are expecting nobody to be at the door, and everybody thinks little Rhoda is seeing a ghost, and she just keeps at it, hey, 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 you know, there, who is it that just keeps saying, hey, 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 that when everybody else, maybe even yourself, is saying, no way, it can't be, this person who could say, yes, it is, come on, come see, who's your Rhoda? Anyways, I want you to look at these places and these people. Jerusalem is another one of these irrefutable or beyond, what does he call them, indispensable relationships. I'm thinking of his irrefutable laws. So his indispensable relationships, and that's having a relationship with a place, right? My place of relationship is the ocean, because there the tides and the waves remind me that of the rhythm, God's rhythm, and say right now I'm horridly missing having been at the ocean. I haven't been in such a while now to just go. I was so spoiled when we lived in Seattle because I could go on a regular basis, particularly when I needed it. We lived 1.5, 2 miles from the coast, and if I was in really bad need, I could go down to the Sound, Puget Sound, just to hear the water and catch me right back into a slower rhythm, right? That's my place. What's your place? Even though these aren't directly our questions, I want you to take this into account. You may add these into your discussion posts. In fact, I hope that you do. This is one of the ways we talk about integrating the materials. Integrate this thinking about who your 11 are. What's your place? Put those in there. This is going to be preparation for next week's assignment, which is to develop your own spiritual care plan, your own self-care plan. Extremely important. And don't blow me off on this one. I don't want to see in your discussion questions anything like, oh, I don't need this, oh, I don't have time. That's bogus. That's just bull, to be quite honest with you. Do you remember us talking about our relationships, the prioritizing of our relationships, right? God is first, right? Then us, then our family, friends, however you shape your family. I have friends who have no immediate family members or who do not live around family members, and so they have gathered other friends that are similar to that. That is their family. Maybe you know somebody, particularly with holidays that are coming around, you might think in terms of you've got friends who don't have family nearby. Maybe they could be part of your family, right? So however you look at family, so we put God first, we take care of ourselves, we have to take care of ourselves. If we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody or anything, right? Then come our family, and the friends, close friends within that, those people who allow us to be their accountability partners, which are not your parishioners. And then we look at those for whom we've been called to care and to serve, right? Those are our parishioners. And at no time are those parishioners, anybody in our church, at no time are they to be our support system or our accountability partners. All of this has to come from outside the place where you serve. You're there to serve them. You're there, well, not to serve them. You're there to serve God within that place. And when you start setting up their caring for you, you're in a lot of trouble. personally, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, professionally, especially. This is not negotiable. This is not arguable. This is not for you to tell me that you disagree. This we have found over years and years and years and years, decades of experience over and over again with hundreds of ministers. This is of the utmost importance. That is why this week is of the utmost importance. Do the readings. I say do the readings because they do have exercises, they have tests, they have inventories, they have all kinds of dynamics for you to consider, for you to implement. And then, as I said, let those inform your discussion questions. And please have fun with this. This is for you. It's for you. And it is critical for your ability to work within your own ethics, to set your own ethics, to keep your own ethics in place, but then above all, to be able to model good ethics and to teach them from a place of integrity and realism, everything that our people need, everything that the church, big C, needs, and everything that God is expecting from us and Jesus needs from us. So again, have a little bit of fun with this. I'll look forward to your responses and the discussion questions, and have a great week.